Hello everyone! The unexpected happened and I managed to write part 2 of Kuguri's birthday special, so you don't have to wait week and more for it. And you can watch it right now. Isn't it amazing? It is amazing, I know. As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and to all of you who subscribe and watch my videos. You are keeping this channel going and alive. Thank you so much, and I hope you will enjoy. The flat fell completely silent. It made Kuguri realize how much he hated silence, and just how much he got used to the constant commotion of having Enoka around. His chest constricted even more, shortening his breath into wheezy gasping as if he was a fish pulled out of water, which, given the situation, wasn't that far from truth. He slumped on the nearest chair, covering and gritting his teeth in a desperate need to suppress the onslaught of emotions pushing to be released out. He couldn't let them do that. He couldn't. He didn't have the right to. Shibayama's words resonated through his head like a broken record, over and over as if he needed to hear them more than once. Nothing is easy with you. Of course Yuki would think that. Especially after all the trouble recently. Kuguri was just surprised it took him so long to voice it out loud. He's getting fed up. Like everyone else. He bit hard on his lip, his willpower slowly but surely succumbing to the raw strength of his emotions. Suddenly, taking on Daisho's offer didn't sound that bad. He shook his head. It was late already, and he would have another at least 2 hours of travel ahead of him to get there, not to mention the time he would spend packing his things, even just the most important. He couldn't bother even more people at the same day. Maybe tomorrow morning. His eyes strayed to the door to his streaming room. Perhaps he could come to different thoughts for now. Hide until the morning and then hope Daisho's partners would be as welcoming to a stranger as him. A voice sounding awfully similar to one of his exes echoed through his mind, letting him know he was nothing but a coward, running away again. As if he didn't know that already. He carefully packed the few things he supposed he could need and then closed himself in the streaming room, for a while just sitting on the chair in the darkness before he reached for the power button on his PC. Moving automatically, he set up everything he needed, and soon the chat filled with messages greeting him and expressing surprise over the unexpected stream. Kuguri let them wander and turned on the game he didn't finish yet, turning his brain off to focus solely on playing. At least that's how it always was. But today, his thoughts were all over the place, preventing him from focusing properly on the gameplay. He found himself wandering in circles, missing important clues and getting surprised by enemies he would normally wipe the floor with. And the chat soon noticed. He's out of it today, isn't he? Maybe he will actually jump today. Why did he even start streaming when he's like this? It's annoying to watch him miss everything. Kuguri mostly ignored all similar messages, the words not holding much power over him, and only occasionally answered a question or two about the game or stream. However, he paused when his eyes registered a different kind of conversation. So, do you think he sleeps with both of those guys who bring him water or nah? Why would he? Can't people just be friends anymore? Nah, watch the last VOD. Friends don't do this kind of shit. I'm telling you, he's getting railed by them. At least by the tall one. Kuguri clenched his jaw. He never announced who the 2 guys bringing him water are, too worried it might start an onslaught of negativity he definitely didn't have any need for. He was aware how awful some people on the internet could be, and he definitely didn't want to pull Yuki and So along in case someone decided to be hateful or worse because of their relationship. Though, maybe there won't be any worry about that soon. He tried his best to ignore the messages, avoiding answering the flow of questions as best as he could to not feed into the fire, but the chat was relentless. I mean, it's obvious, right? He's not even denying it. Until eventually, he couldn't ignore it anymore. My relationship is none of your business. Focus on the game, please. That's why you are here for, no? He knew he made a mistake the moment the chat flooded with "knew it" messages and emojis. He looked away as fast as he could, but then his eyes brushed over yet another message from the original chatter. Dude, how did you, of all people, manage to convince not one, but two people to be with you? He froze, the words on the screen burning into his mind. Right. How? Why did Yuki and So, two loveliest and liveliest people he had ever met, ask him, of all people, to be part of their relationship? What did he ever do to deserve being part of it? Why would they even be interested in sharing their life with him? Why would they like him in the first place? The text in front of his eyes disappeared, the light from the monitor becoming one blurred blob. Yet, he couldn't stop staring at it, even when he started to feel tickling on his cheeks and the first water droplets fell into his lap. He had always felt ashamed for his tears. The only time his emotions got better of him was during his first year in high school. But it was fine. Yuki and So were away, surely enjoying each other's company that wasn't tainted by his presence. They weren't watching the stream, because why would they? They weren't going to see what an absolute embarrassment he was. A strange tension hung in the air, the kind Enoka couldn't recall ever feeling in this part of the city before. Though perhaps it was more Shibayama's doing. He was silent the whole time they walked, his shoulders stiff and face scrunched into something Enoka didn't have a name for. It wasn't anger, he knew how that looked on his boyfriend's face. Maybe frustration would be the right word. But considering he too was still a bit shaken from how the evening unwrapped, he couldn't really blame him. What was supposed to be a nice moment of celebration spent together as a unit turned painful in just a few minutes. And all of that because of a simple miscommunication that somehow happened between them. How did it even come to this? Everything looked fine in the morning. The despair bubbled in his chest more and more the longer he thought about the whole thing. He wasn't even sure why he followed Shibayama instead of staying at home, but the truth was, it hurt to hear Kugure doubting them so much. Well, it's not like it matters now anyway. We went out, now stayed home. Hopefully. Chills ran down his spine, imagining Kugure in his clearly distressed state stumbling somewhere outside. He probably wouldn't even call if something happened after this whole mess. He shook his head, refusing to entertain the dark scenarios. Kugure was safely home. There was no need to panic. Everything was going to be fine. Surely. Do you want to stop at the candy shop? Shibayama raised his eyes to him, blinking a few times before he fully registered his words. Yeah, why not? Something sweet could be nice, I guess. Enoka cracked a smile and steered Shibayama to the familiar door. In a few minutes, they carried packs of candy of all kinds to the register, and it only took a few moments for Enoka to tear into one of them. With his mouth full, he glanced at Shibayama after feeling his gaze on him, tilting his head in a silent question. Nothing. I just thought you don't like those. He pointed at the red soft candies at the bottom of the pack, and Enoka shrugged. I don't, but now loves them. They both paused before letting out a simultaneous sigh. That could have gone better, huh? Yeah, that definitely could. Maybe we should have just wished him happy birthday in the morning like we wanted originally. Shibayama's shoulders slumped a bit as he absent-mindedly turned the candy packet in his hands. This isn't just about the birthday, though. I guess it was about to happen sooner or later. Do they just sped it up? He sighed again. If he just said something before. It wouldn't have to happen if he told us what's going on in that damned head of his. Yuki, we could talk it out like normal people and we wouldn't have to argue. I want to help him, why can't he see it? I mean, you could also word it better. Huh? It sounded like you were blaming him for being the way he is. If I was in Nao's shoes, I would feel like you are throwing my feelings in my face as something wrong or worth criticism. What? That's not what I meant. Why would I? He paused, realization flashing over his face. Damn it. A quiet whine escaped his mouth. I messed up, didn't I? A bit. But to be fair, it's fault of all of us. We should have talked properly before, not let everything bubble over. Yeah, but now it did bubble over. Enoka squeezed his shoulder, trying for a reassuring smile. It's going to be fine, you'll see. Let's take a bit to cool off before going home. We'll talk it through and then everything will be fine again. Shibayama hummed, stuffing another candy into his mouth. I hope so. They continued on along the line of glowing shop windows when Enoka's phone went off with an alert. Oh hey, now streaming. Huh? He never streams on Saturdays. Maybe he needed something to do? Should we... Nodding, Shibayama motioned to a nearby bench. Yeah, let's watch. We can't lose our streak. They settled on the bench similarly as they would if they were home, with the only difference there was no duet around. That and the fact they just had a disagreement. The familiar setup appeared on the phone screen, though Enoka noticed Kuguri's face cam was a bit darker than usual, hinting that he didn't turn on the background lights. He must be really down if he wants dark. Other than that though, everything was as always. Kuguri focused on the game, his face blank even though he made a few mistakes there and then. As if nothing happened. But they knew better. Maybe we shouldn't have left him alone. Not on his birthday, even though it all went so wrong. He gets lonely as is. Enoka gently bumped his side. Hey, what did I say? It'll be fine. We will talk when we get home and everything will be back to normal. We can even cut that cake to wrap Nell's nerves a bit. I guess. If he at least wasn't so stubborn and told us what he feels. I don't think that's because of stubbornness. I think he's scared. Scared of what? He knows we would never hurt him. Right? I don't know. Maybe we should remind him that he has nothing to be afraid of from us. We can start with that when we get back. Yeah. He paused suddenly and furrowed his brow, leaning a bit more to the screen. Enoka hummed in confusion. What? Something's wrong. Look at him, he's frozen. Something's not right. He seemed fine just a second ago. Yeah, but... Oh no, look into the chat. Enoka quickly read the incoming messages, his eyes stopping at one of the last ones. Dude, how did you of all people manage to convince not one, but two people to be with you? You of all people... What the fuck? Who sent that? However, all the anger gathering in Enoka's chest was immediately gone, a much more painful feeling settling in its place when, in the faint light from the monitor, he noticed the glistening tears running down Kuguri's face. His hand subconsciously shot to his mouth, a dull ache spreading through his chest. Oh no, no. They watched in stunned silence as Kugure looked at his hands as if he didn't understand what was happening, and then his head disappeared from the camera's field of view, leaving just quiet sobs coming through the microphone. "We need to go home." Shibayama was already on his feet, squeezing the strap of his bag in his hand. "Yeah, and fast." By the end, they ran the rest of the way to their flat, taking the stairs by two to get home as fast as possible. Yesterday was too late. Kugure's streaming room was right behind the hallway, but it still felt like an entire eternity to Enoka before they finally opened the door and were welcomed by quiet sobbing. Shibayama didn't even stop before he threw his bag on the floor and knelt next to Kugure, wrapping him in a sort of hug. Enoka followed suit, his heart shattering into pieces upon seeing the tears falling on the carpet. "Shh, it's okay, dear, it's okay. Shh, please don't cry." He looked up, his eyes blazing and jaw clenched. "Shut that thing down." Enoka nodded and leaned over Kugure's slumped form to turn off the stream. He gritted his teeth when he glanced over to the chat and spotted several mocking messages by the usernames from the same people who sent Kugure into despair in the first place. "You all should be ashamed of yourself!" With that, he shut the stream and deleted the recording, if only to stop more people from potentially clipping from it. He then returned to Kugure, wrapping his arms around him in hopes to soothe the jerky wrenching of his shoulders. "It's okay now. Shh, it's okay." But despite their best efforts, the sobs didn't stop. On the contrary, even joined by a stream of whispered sorries falling from Kugure's lips, breaking Enoka's heart even more. Shibayama's grip tightened. "Please stop apologizing. You did nothing wrong. I'm so sorry we left you here alone." New tears rolled down Kugure's face as he curled even more into a ball, his whole body trembling. Enoka's vision hazed. He pulled Kugure closer to him as much as the chat allowed him to, giving out the last bits of his willpower to stay calm. Though, one glance at Shibayama told him he wasn't doing much better. "It's okay now, I promise. We are with you. No one's going anywhere." "Why?" "Because we love you. You are a boyfriend now, remember?" "Why?" Enoka's heart sank. "Oh no. Now, please don't believe what those people said. They don't know anything about you. Or us. We love you the way you are, I swear." "Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't be with you if we didn't love you. Those idiots have no idea what they are talking about." A soft whine escaped Kugure's mouth before he curled even more into himself. It took another several minutes for Kugure's sobbing to turn into soft hiccups. Neither Enoka nor Shibayama let go of him for even a second, their presence now hopefully having the desired effect. They didn't stop whispering quiet reassurances into Kugure's ears, and even though he hadn't lifted his head a single time, Enoka could swear he could feel the tremble settling down now. He gently patted Kugure's back. "Let's get you to bed now, Everything is better with a few hours of sleep under your belt." Kugure let out a shaky breath, but didn't make any attempt to move or look up. "Or I can always carry you there. You're exhausted, aren't you?" To that, Kugure shook his head almost imperceptibly and tried to get up, only to waver immediately. Enoka caught him just as he was about to hit the table and settled him back into the chair. He then squatted in front of him, patting on his shoulders. "Come on, we don't want you to fall now, do we?" After a few seconds of hesitation, arms slid around his neck, bringing more weight on his back. Kugure mumbled something under his breath from which he only caught heavy, which he decided to ignore and secured Kugure's arms around him a bit more. "Alright, here we go." He carried Kugure a few rooms aside without any issue, and with a bit of help from Shibayama. They then wrapped him into his favorite fluffy blanket, and not even a minute later, his breathing evened into the rhythm they both were familiar with. In a natural reflex, Enoka leaned over him and pressed a light kiss to his temple. "Sleep well. You need it." Exchanging only a few nods with Shibayama, both of them were soon nested on Kugure's each side, their arms wrapped around their boyfriend's body. "Everything will be fine." Despite the events of the past day, Enoka woke up to probably the sweetest sight he could ever imagine. He gently ran his fingers over Kugure's cheek, careful not to wake him up earlier than necessary. His heart fluttered seeing his beloved's face relaxed instead of scrunched in pain, going far beyond the border of anything physical. So pretty. A smaller hand tapped on his. Shibayama gave him a soft smile before snuggling to Kugure's back again, letting out a content sigh. So peaceful too. He would give anything to preserve that moment, to let them sleep snuggled together forever. But alas, they had to wake up eventually. And they had to talk. As if hearing his thoughts, Kugure squirmed a bit against his chest, and then the eyes bluer than the sky looked at him, still glossed over with sleep, but also full of something Enoka couldn't find the name for. Still, he smiled and brushed a stray strand of hair from Kugure's forehead. "Good morning, Sleeping Beauty." He became a bit more serious again. "How do you feel?" "Tired." "No wonder. You had one hell of a day, huh?" Kugure flinched despite Shibayama's voice being as soft as ever. Shibayama also had to notice, if only judging by the guilt flushing across his face. "I'm sorry, love. I didn't mean what I said yesterday. Well, I did, but not in the way you think." He sat up, keeping his hand laid lightly on Kugure's bicep. "I didn't mean to imply there's something wrong with you. Because there isn't. You are lovely the way you are. Really. Can you forgive me for that and for leaving you alone when you needed support?" Kugure blinked slowly a few times, as if he had trouble comprehending the words, before he squeezed Enoka's night t-shirt in his hands. "You came home." "Of course we did. I'm sorry it took us so long. We rushed home right when we saw you crying, but it took a bit to run here." Kugure froze. You saw... You watch the streams?" "Of course we do. We've always been." Kugure's lips parted, his eyes darting between them. It wasn't exactly how Enoka imagined the reveal they watched the streams would go, but that didn't really matter right now. He kissed Kugure's forehead. "We've always been there with you, ever since you started, and we are so proud of you for where you are now. But we are really worried right now too." He squeezed Kugure's hand, some of the despair Enoka felt from him since yesterday seeping into his voice. "Now, what's going on?" Sitting up, Kugure folded his hands in his lap, clenching them so hard his knuckles turned white. Enoka covered them with his, carefully trying to loosen Kugure's grip. "Please, love, something's clearly wrong, but we can't help you if you don't tell us. We won't hold it against you, I swear. We just want you to be happy." Another pause. And then... "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Being left alone. Again." He looked up, tears pooling in his eyes. "I can't express how happy I was when you asked me to be with you. I love you both so much, and I don't know what I would do if you left." Sniffing, he hid his face in his palms. I can't do it again. Enoka moved on instinct, pulling Kugure under his chin to soothe the starting trembles, while Shibayama wasn't far behind, taking Kugure's hand in his to prevent him from hurting himself. He was seething, furious at all those faceless people who broke Kugure's heart before, while knocking down his self-esteem with their stupid comments. On everyone who dared to hurt the sweetest person he knew. I know it's difficult to be with me. I know. They all said it. I'm trying, I swear. I don't want you to regret. I don't want you to leave. But then you said it too, and... Shh, it's okay. I'm so sorry for that. I had no idea how much I was hurting you with it. I would word it differently if I knew. But we won't leave. We love you too much for that. Just the way you are. Yeah, those assholes have no idea what they are talking about. But... no buts. He pulled away a bit, just enough to cup Kugure's face. Listen to me, okay? You deserve love. You deserve to be cared for. Maybe more than anyone I know. Remember that, please. With his lower lip quivering and eyes glossed over, Kugure nodded jerkily, leaning into the touch on his cheeks. I'll try. Good. Now tell us which bastards we should kill for breaking your heart like this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. So this whole idea started from a plot to make Kugure have a emotional breakdown on stream, because obviously he's one of the emotionless quotation marks characters, and I like to break them with Taichi. So yeah, it was coming at some point. I just used his birthday as a catalyst because, yeah, good catalyst. I wasn't sure how to tie everything together before, so yeah. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a press of time, but in the end, hey, it worked out. But I promise there will be more fluff for them from now on, because yeah, they had enough angst for now. Now it's time for someone else's angst. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time!